It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome to the program. It is County-Wide. Brad Miller with you, and we're happy to welcome into studio today a name and a voice that'll probably be pretty familiar with our listeners. Doug Nintzel is with the Arizona Department of Transportation. Hello, sir.
Hey, Brad. How are you doing?
Good to have you here.
Thanks for the introduction.
You've been with ADOT for some time.
It has been 17 years.
17 years.
Yes, I never thought that would happen.
We've chatted with you very often. You're on all of the news sources very often talking about different kinds of things, including some of those we'll talk about today. We're, well, most of the way through October, and it's time to get ready for winter driving already. It seems like the monsoon rains were just here, and we had all of that, and I guess we did just not terribly long ago, but now is the time to get ready for driving in the winter. We've already had a dusting of snow in the Flagstaff area, and obviously there will likely be much more to come. So this is the time to get ready, and Doug is here today to help us do that. You've brought, now first of all, for our TV viewers, you've brought all kinds of props here today.
Yeah, you know, just because it is that time that you really need to think about what are you going to have in the vehicle once these snowstorms are arriving here in the North Country. We just need to make sure that folks are thinking about the things that they could bring along. And there's a little bit of a history to this, Brad, in that, you know, the better part of a decade ago, we were trying to think of what could we do from a public awareness standpoint, right? Because obviously we have our operations and we have the snow plowing that takes place. We do our best to keep the snow and ice at bay. However, there are those things that drivers can do. And so we developed play on words of no snow in Arizona. A lot of people would associate the term, well, there is no snow in Arizona. Yeah. We know that's not true, and we turned it into the KNOW, no, basically know your snow here in Arizona.
There you go.
So there are those things that we're doing, and those things that we recommend for your trunk or in the back of that SUV, those things that you would want to bring along in case you run into that situation. And probably all of us have, at least for a time, been stopped along the highway when the snow is either falling, it's gotten heavy, or there's something going on where the plowing operations are taking place. But we're trying to arm people with the information they need from a standpoint of the unscheduled closure of a highway due to the snowstorms that we do have.
It seems like several things typically happen. There'll be that closure you didn't plan for.
Right.
There'll be a slide off where you get stuck, and maybe it's at the height of a storm, and everybody's okay, but you're going to be there for a little while.
Right.
And then there's also where maybe there's a slide off where you can get out of it, and you've brought some things to help us with that and what to do if you can safely get yourself out of maybe a little minor fender bender or things like that.
And obviously, if you are obviously trying to get yourself unstuck, there are those things to do. But however, it may take a little while for DPS to be on site. We want to make sure that you're as comfortable as possible, those things that you can do. And so it really starts off, first of all, I really recommend making sure you have that flashlight in the vehicle, and to go with that, the larger than life representation, spare batteries.
Extra batteries
for the flashlight, just in case there. We've got the drinking water. You want to be comfortable. We don't want you in a situation where, oh, I don't have any of these supplies in there. To go with that, we also then say, you know, pack some snack foods, some things that are going to get you through a period of time, maybe when you're out along the highway. And then you get into the things. Hey, you're outside the vehicle. If you are out there, you might be trying to shovel. And the one thing I didn't stick in here, we always recommend having maybe one of those small foldable shovels that you can get, and just something that might. But you're out there digging around the car, what's happening? You might start getting wet. And so then we start recommending those things. Make sure, you know, first of all, you're going to want to have the extra blanket out there, and then the extra clothing. Obviously, this is a promo for NAU as well in getting this out.
Got an NAU t-shirt
so
here.
This will be, you know, in the trunk, but making sure that you have some extra clothing. And I even have in here the spare boots. It might be another pair of shoes that you're going to switch into once you're done doing that. Got the sweatshirt, so things to keep you warm. The gloves would be in there. as well inside the kit. But those are just representative of things, and can't say it often enough, in today's world it is about having the cell phone but making sure it's fully charged. So if you have some holiday travel, some things you're going to be doing, heading out onto the highway, you want to avoid that situation where, oh my gosh, the battery is run down on the cell phone. And obviously I brought the cord along as well as something that you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that so that you have that way.
The car charger.
You have that way to recharge.
I want to dissect what you brought here a tiny bit. It seems like there's kind of two categories of what you've got here. Some pertain mostly to safety. Others kind of pertain to comfort. The food and the water. Water is certainly a safety thing. I mean,
Sure.
We don't get on the highway anywhere around here, summer, spring, winter, fall, without plenty of water in the vehicle, especially in the summertime.
Yeah,
one could argue, but in the winter as well. The snacks and things like that. Usually, I think in a snowstorm, a terribly prolonged stay isn't in order, but it could be.
Right.
If you go off the road. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios we could paint, so we can't kind of cover all of that. The battery, the flashlight, and so on. When you talk about the blanket, that's going to come kind of towards a comfort thing if you're there for a while. Even if the car heater can run, maybe you run out of gas after a short time. And so you got to kind of think of really all of those things ahead of time when you set your little kit together.
And really, you start to think about it from what is a worst case scenario for me. In most cases, you're going to be fine out there on the highway. You're not going to run into these situations, but you need to be prepared just in case. So that's why we make that recommendation, and to think about things, because I don't have, say, the chains that are, something that obviously a lot of us in the north, the high country, need to be thinking about. So those are those items that also would be packed in the vehicle. But these are the things to think about. And then also with our website, and again, that is www. But it's AZDOT.gov, AZDOT.gov/no snow, and that is not the NO, it's the KNOW, no snow. And if you go on there, we have more tips from a safety standpoint, including the things to have in your emergency preparedness kit.
Let's talk about that. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'd like to explore that a little bit. This is the stuff to have in the car if you've already had a little trouble and are stuck out there for a time. But as Doug indicated with the website and other resources, excuse me, there are ways to prepare before you ever get in the car, before you leave on your trip. We'll talk more with Doug Nensel from ADOT right after this.
I would steal pills from my friend's mom.
We talk about all the common drugs, but never prescription medication.
I was addicted to pills.
Had I more knowledge, I would have done things differently.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Thanks for calling the GED Pep Talk Center. Jerry Siller speaking. Your level 7 in-your-face pep talk.
I can keep pushing you. Believe me, I'm good at it. But at some point, you're going to need to start pushing yourself.
See, once you've got your GED diploma, you'll feel so good about yourself.
You tell them. You can't change your past, but you can definitely change the future.
That makes me so happy, I'm ready to bust out a dance.
Mr. Trejo, can I transfer this guy to you? My gentle technique isn't really working. You need something a little more
persuasive.
Yes.
You listen, and you listen good.
Hey, where's my sandwich? Terry? Terry!
Take it from me, the King DMC. It's a real cool thing to get your GED.
Get that diploma!
Now hold on and we'll find you free GED classes. Capiche?
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Ronnie had huge aspirations.
He knew he could get pills in the community.
He found his body in an apartment in Telford.
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Welcome back to the program. Are you ready for winter driving? A few more cool nights and warm days, but winter is upon us, and now is the time to get ready. Doug Nintzel is here with ADOT, and we're talking about that. In the kit, one thing we didn't get to that I want to point out before we talk about some of the online resources and whatnot, do you have cats in your house or in your car?
Yeah, and not in the car, thank goodness. But, you know, I did bring this again.
Kitty litter.
You might want to bring a little bit more than this amount, but just to, again, remind folks is something that is good out there. And that is either some sand or something like the kitty litter. Might have seen that more recently on an insurance commercial. And, you know, that is one of the things that might help if your car is having trouble getting those wheels going. This is something that can provide some traction.
In the snow,
so
the mud.
Might not be a bad idea to put some of this in the trunk of the car as well.
It's perfect.
You know, what I tell folks is
awesome.
if you're going to have it, the weight of that item also helps in terms of creating some traction as you're going along. So you can't lose in terms of having a bit of this, either sand or the kitty litter along during the winter months.
It's a great idea. It kind of maybe absorbs some of that muck, tiny bit, but more importantly, gets that grip, that traction that you're going to need to get yourself perhaps out of a jam. Now let's talk again. The preparedness kind of can begin or should begin even now, and you can do a lot of that work online.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, just that we did develop the information at azdot.gov/no snow. And again, KNOW, no snow, and all the things we're talking about here. There's the information from an emergency preparedness kit, what to maybe bring along. But then we get into the recommendations. What are the things that drivers need to concentrate on? There are some basics that you would think everybody should know this, but you're always going to have folks who are getting in trouble, and that is that they're exceeding the speed limit or exceeding the speed per the conditions that are out there when a winter storm is settled in. It's not about the speed limit anymore. It's about driving at the condition level. And so we're always recommending folks do not push the envelope. It's better to get there safely. Make sure you're slowing down in those situations. But that's the kind of stuff that we are passing along. And if there are young drivers out there, parents who are concerned, I would take them to that website as well. Again, the azdot.gov website. Just know that there are keywords no snow, and that's KNOW, so you know your snow here in the high country. But also, it's a chance to let folks know there are the other things online, and that is that we have our 511 website. Very, very helpful at the times that storms are moving in or have moved in, because it keeps people up to date on the highway conditions throughout the area. I find it very helpful even when I'm at home in the Phoenix area and I might have travel plans to the high country, but right there at, again, az511.gov, you're able to go, and when a storm event is happening, we put right there on the homepage the major things that are happening within the storm. So you're going to find some of the top recommendations or the top information when it comes to the highway restrictions out there. And even from your standpoint, from your job standpoint, it's very important that you're able to look at that to pass along to your viewers, to your listeners, the information about, hey, how are our highways affected right now?
And we do it all the time.
Right, and we're very used to the fact that I-17 is such an important highway here in this area, Interstate 40 as well, but on I-17, we're all used to the fact that there are going to be those storms that move in, and there is going to become that time when the storm is heavy enough and the plows cannot keep up with it, that we're going to have a closure from a safety standpoint, and public safety is the key to all of this. There's going to be that closure out there. Normally, you can usually count on it being at the Highway 179 junction, the Sedona turnoff, that we're going to close things down so that, if necessary, we're turning traffic around rather than sending folks up that hill. That includes the larger trucks. And we've experienced that situation with trucks involved in the slide-offs. We will work closely with DPS any winter time to say when's the time that we need to think about closing it down, because we fear that trucks are going to start having a hard time on the hills.
We've started to see this a little bit more, and I think about more of the kind of summertime and the dust storms. I-10,
Yes.
I-40, certainly between Flagstaff and like the Winslow, Show area. And after, you'll probably remember, Doug, some years ago now, a devastating accident on Interstate 40.
Correct.
In such weather. And, you know, some hard lessons have been learned over the years. And I know that folks will get frustrated because the roads, you can drive on it, but that, like you say, there has to be a stopping point, even if you're not quite into where it's really dusty, because there's nothing beyond that.
That's right, Brad.
Except you're just going to be sitting out there.
Yeah, and in even the last now few years, couple of years, it is all about the public awareness campaigns. And what we've started is the Pull Aside, Stay Alive campaign.
Yeah.
And that is for the dust storm situations. Interstate 40, a lot of people don't think about the dust storms that occur in northern Arizona, but they do occur. There's a lot of effort that goes into I-10 between Phoenix and Tucson and having the signs out there. But again, being able to have the az511.gov site available to folks, we really recommend that. The phone number is there as well. And that
511
recorded phone number has the information that is online. But if you're in the safety of your home, if you're at the office before you're leaving, check in online and you can find out here's what the latest information is. Information that comes from our crews in the high country. Right. They're monitoring the highway conditions. The information is being sent to our traffic operations center in Phoenix. That is the heart and soul of our operation. That's where the nerve center, and that is where the information comes in, and we're able to get that information out as quickly as possible.
And I wanted to say, for folks who've not seen it, az511.gov or the phone number 511, if you've never called, it's not just storms. And it's not just winter storms, it's not just storms at all. If you look almost any given day, in the Phoenix Valley, there was some real serious flooding not terribly long ago, and the 511 was all over that, about what was open, what was closed. I think even some predictions about when we may be clear, say around accident scenes, and I don't know if it goes that far.
Well,
but it's very on the ball and on the money with keeping you posted on, you know, on what is happening. If there's an accident on 17, say,
that system is designed to keep you up to date on current conditions. Maybe not necessarily when something is back open.
That's
again,
hard to
because
say.
the event usually that listing is dropped off the site if something is back open again. However, we will team up on that because of the growth of social media, the importance of social media. We have the ADOT Twitter account, and I'm telling you that goes hand in hand with all of this. I'd recommend that folks look into signing up as a subscriber as far as following ADOT on Twitter. Again, that would be at Arizona DOT, so spelled out Arizona, but Arizona DOT would be the keywords to look for via Twitter. We have folks signing up all the time. I think we've gone beyond the 25,000 mark on folks who are now following us on Twitter, and so that's a key thing, because that is information that's so instantaneous that our public information officers are able to get that information, and we will let folks know that something is open again via Twitter, and that's a really good system.
And here again, we're kind of, our show today really, and to let you know also, this is the first of a two-parter. We're going to talk more with Doug in a second program, kind of about how it works. The snow plows. That's an art. Those guys are artists. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but how is it prioritized? What roads go first? Those kinds of things. But the 511, the az511.gov, and some of the information you're giving is good any time, not just winter driving.
Yeah, we recommend
this is stuff to have in your pocket all the time.
It usually is out there as the information. You're planning a trip, and you're going to Grandma's house for the holidays. We always say check in with 511, but you're right. You can check in at any time and find out, how is my route going to be affected in some way? Is there anything out there on I-17? Is there anything out there on I-40? So we recommend staying in touch.
We need to take a short break. Doug Nintzel is our guest. We'll have a bit more with Doug. And then the second part of our two-part series with ADOT, getting ready for wintertime driving. A lot of important things to know. We'll hear more about it right after this.
Shocking drugs that road all the time. Just had a few drinks. Just can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We just buzzed. Just buzzed.
You didn't tell us that, sir.
You're right. This isn't happening.
You'll be fine.
I feel good.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Chugging.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to the program. Again, our guest today from ADOT is Doug Nintzel, and this is the first of a two-part series, a short series that we'll do with Doug about wintertime driving, just kind of focusing on the bag of tricks, if you will, flashlights, cell phone, battery chargers, water, some snacks, warm clothing, extra clothing, blankets, the kitty litter to help you get out if the tires are spinning and you're stuck on the side of the road or wherever. A lot of good things to have. But as we wrap up this segment, Doug, can I just ask, if there's one thing, maybe one piece that you'd really like to impart or summarize for folks, what would you say?
It still is about being prepared. And we talk about the kit, but thinking about things ahead of time. From our standpoint, it really is, if you're out there driving in the winter conditions, don't push the envelope.
Yeah.
Make sure you're driving per those icy conditions. You're slowing down out there.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're avoiding the sudden acceleration. Don't step on the gas quickly. Right. That's when people start into the spin outs along the highway. They just didn't realize that they might be entering an area that's icier than others. We do tell folks the bridges freeze faster than the other parts of the highway. And then also, just from a standpoint of things that you can do, make sure that you're not doing any panic braking out there. Don't slam on the brakes. Yeah. Just don't panic when you're out there, but take it easy behind the wheel. And really, it should go without saying, buckle up.
Always,
make sure,
always
buckle up. You're much more likely to survive something. And we've seen all the crashes that occur where the victim was ejected from the vehicle. Make sure you're buckling up.
Excellent advice, as always. Doug Nintzel is with ADOT. A lot more can be found on the ADOT website. One more time.
Yeah,
take a look
you're right, azdot.gov/no snow, KNOW, no snow. You'll be able to get all this information. I think it's great, especially for the young drivers out there.
Get your wintertime thinking caps on. Very good. Doug Nintzel, ADOT, part 2 of our series. We'll talk more about wintertime driving, other things to know and think about. It's countywide, and we'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.